Welcome into another edition of Let's Bet It. I'm Alex Glaze, joined by Jared Smith. Jared, you talked earlier in this year about how there's no offseason like the NFL offseason. I would argue the NBA offseason and free agency is even more exciting when it really is at its peak. I mean, yesterday, just a barrage of NBA news. What's standing out to you right now from all of the news that is coming in and still developing in the NBA?
It's a good point. I think that's an interesting argument to have about the NFL and NBA offseason. In
When
which
the NBA
I
is at
think
its peak, the NFL
at
is
its
probably
peak,
better. It's more
yeah, like over the
consistent.
long haul.
Yeah, over the long haul, it's more consistent.
But
The
that July
NBA at its
1st midnight, we got
yes,
three
yes,
tweets from Woj and Shams right at midnight. It was Ja, it was Jokic, it was Towns. I mean, it was supermax, right when the clock struck midnight. That was pretty exciting. I joked yesterday that who needs reality TV when we have the NBA? Like, honestly, like I and our buddy Jim Monis, who's a known reality TV buff, joked like, I need reality TV. Jim, I promise you, turn off the Desperate Housewives, turn on the NBA free agency
Desperate
special.
Housewives. I mean, it's not 2008, and we're talking the Real
I don't know,
Housewives.
whatever he watches,
Real
Love
Housewives.
Island, or I don't know what's going on these days. You would know better than me. But yeah, so the biggest thing that stood out to me yesterday, I think the Supermax deals, they were all expected. Townsend, John, all those guys. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, obviously, was the Kevin Durant situation. But now that we've had 12, 24 hours of kind of digestion, the Lakers' odds have been on the move over the last 12 to 24 hours, basically since KD announced that he wanted to be traded. And they've been on the move to the point where I think it's more than just Kyrie smoke. I mean, they moved from like 23 to 1, 30 to 1 to now like 10, 15 to 1. That is a massive move just based off of Kyrie Irving. So I'll throw it back to you. To me, is Kevin Durant in play to the Lakers? Is there just bear with me here. Anthony Davis for Kevin Durant. Is that a trade that the Nets should make? I mean, to me, the odds moving that much on the Lakers is more than just Kyrie. It's got to be something else there, and the market clearly thinks the Lakers are already in bed with one or both of these guys.
Well, I believe it was Bleacher Report that put out there yesterday that that Woj had said something along the lines of Kevin Durant is open to playing with Kyrie somewhere else. I didn't see it. I didn't see any Woj tweets about that because I looked. I was like, wait, I didn't see that. I must have missed that. I didn't see that on the timeline. Maybe he said it on ESPN somewhere. But if that's the case, I mean, maybe that's why. Because I mean, as you're looking, you mentioned Kyrie's odds to play in LA. I believe, what'd you say? It's minus 300 that the Lakers are the next.
Kyrie is minus. So the odds were taken down, but from what I saw before they were taken down, Kyrie was odds-on favorite. And then for KD, it was like 15, 20 to 1 to play for the Lakers. Now the offshore markets are a little different, and obviously we can't dabble there. But I would not. I mean, we'll talk about a package deal, and you think about it from the Nets' perspective. It's probably going to be harder for them to execute two trades, one for KD, one for Kyrie. If I'm the Nets staff, front office, I'm trying to execute one mega deal where you get a million first round picks, maybe a player or two, and you get both Kyrie and KD. That's how I would go about it if I was the Nets. Instead of trying to chop off one limb and then trying to chop off the other limb later, it's hard enough to execute one of these trades. Why not try to package them together and get a mega return? But
it's also tough because when you're doing that, you also have to consider that you are going to be bringing in. It's going to be more than just a 2-team trade at that point. Like, it's going to be multiple teams involved in the trade because you're going to be needing so many different assets and there are going to be so many moving parts, which obviously would take longer to matriculate.
There's going to be a lot of teams calling to try to get Kyrie and KD though right now. Basically in their
prime. I mean, yeah, absolutely. So I mean, why wouldn't
there will be suitors? It's just what's the best move for the Nets. Man, I'll be honest, as a Knicks fan, I kind of feel bad for the Nets. They just
they got their guy. They got Jalen Brunson. The Knicks got their guy.
No. I mean, if I wasn't a Knicks fan, I would feel a lot worse for the Nets and their fan base because Kyrie and KD kind of pulled the old rope-a-dope on them. I mean, How much money is KD getting paid? He sat out 1 year and he played in
We
one
also have
playoff
4 years, I
series.
believe, left on his deal. So imagine, like, what
These
kind of
players
world are
have
we
way too
living in?
much power.
What kind of world are we living in where a player can just walk in and just say, "Hey, I want to trade," and they get the trade? They have 4 years left on the deal. 4 years left.
If I was Sean
I
Marks,
mean,
I would tell him to go, stick it where the sun doesn't shine. But listen, I
I'm
don't
all
know
for
what the end
player
result
empowerment
here
and
is.
players being in control, but
So
there's a
much
certain
power.
there's
So
there's
much.
a certain point
Too
where
much.
it's kind of a little bit ridiculous. I mean,
Yes, it
we
is
saw this.
ridiculous.
I mean, can you imagine an NFL player doing this, coming in and saying
Never.
4 years left on a deal? Hey, I want to be traded.
The NFL players do this, but they don't get paid. That's the difference. Right. They don't get paid when they hold out. It happens all the time, but they don't.
Le'Veon Bell's the one that's sticking out to me. Like, he wanted to be traded, wanted a new deal, then get it, and just.
Le'Veon Bell is the prime example of this. He literally, and that's the part about the Nets, more so the ownership, that I feel worse for. But again, billionaires losing millions, I don't feel as bad. But it's setting this precedent. When the precedent was already set, but it's continuing this precedent of the contracts mean absolutely nothing. The players dictate everything, and the owners are at the whim of where these. And let's be honest, the mental health of these guys dissipates over time. Kyrie's in, and then he's out, and he's in, and he's out. KD is in, he's out. You're investing $50, $100, $200 million in these players, and you have no idea what you're getting from 1 year to the next. If I was a GM, I wouldn't give anyone a longer contract than 1 year, maybe 2 for an option. Like, that's it. Short term, I'll give you all the money in the world, but I'm not committing more than 1 or 2 years to you.
An interesting note here from our producer, Justin, before we move on. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry played more games together this past year than Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving played together in their Brooklyn career. That is crazy. I think they played like 58 games together or something over the past couple seasons.
More. So they each made what, 40 million and played 58 games together. Like, I just, it's unbelievable. I'll be honest. Now, that you want to talk about a day that might break Twitter, KD, Kyrie traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis and a boatload of first-round picks. I mean, if I'm LeBron, that's what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely. If you're LeBron,
Anthony Davis looked terrible last year. Sorry, let's get into football, but the NBA, we can talk about the NBA offseason for.
Yeah, we could go on about this all day. Before we get into the show, though, make sure you subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel. We do this show every morning at 10 a.m. Let us know in the comments what picks you're on, and if you have any questions, probably we'll be able to get to them during the show. And make sure you download the Pickswise app, available on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. And, of course, make sure you are subscribed to the Pickswise morning newsletter, Wise and Shine. We have a lot of people working hard behind the scenes, to provide you with great information and everything that you need to know to start your day of betting. And it gets sent right to your email. It's very easy. So the description for that is in the YouTube stream. If you just click that link, you will subscribe to that newsletter, get all that great information sent right to you. On today's show, we're going to do some Football Friday, talk about some rookies, and dive a little bit into the prop market there. We're going to bring on a guest to talk MLB, Paul Sporer, and you're going to give out some Wimbledon picks. How have your Wimbledon picks been doing? Zeno lost his yesterday.
Not bad.
It was 3-0 before that. Your Wimbledon picks have been
Zeno was hot. He had a couple upsets.
He was hot
on Tuesday.
He was hot with plus money picks, and then he got nervous and puckered up and went with a little juicy
Zeno.
play, and then he lost. So he
lost too much money at the Yankees game the other day, spending all that money on concessions and sodas and Cracker Jacks. Wimbledon picks have been okay. 2-1 with the picks that I've given out on this show. I'm doing a half unit on all of them, but in reality, most of them are tales of Ricky Diamond, who's been doing very well and continues to do well. Also, our buddy Novak plays today. I'm not going to go over the rollover again. We did it the other day. Same situation. Yeah. But Novak plays today, and we'll hopefully move on to. They're already in round 3, so we're almost halfway done with the fortnight that is Wimbledon. So it goes by very fast.
We're going to finish things off with our plays of the day. So without further ado, Jared, let's bet it. And let's start with the NFL. And let's talk some rookies here. We're looking at some rookie props. Some of these rookies, I mean, these are rookies that I think should be on everyone's radar to have big seasons. These are guys that everyone's looking at potentially being difference makers with their team, right? And these are non-quarterbacks. We're not talking about quarterbacks yet because
Yeah.
these are guys that we think can come right in, plug and play, right? Let's start in Atlanta with Drake London, the Falcons' new wide receiver, and look at his yardage and touchdown props. Yards at 464.5 receiving yards, and his touchdown prop at 4.5. I'm going to let you go first with this one because I believe we're on the same side with the yardage. But when you look at his yards, do you think Mr. London can go over 464.5 receiving yards?
No. Who's playing quarterback in Atlanta this year?
It's going to be Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder or Felipe Frank.
I mean,
one.
Yeah. I mean, you just finished the handicap with those three names right there. Another thing with London is this is very hard, and we'll get into this a little later with Garrett Wilson. He is listed as the number one receiver on the depth chart. That's tough for a rookie. You're getting the top corner every week, most likely, against you. Now, again, they might move him around. Who knows what the scheme is with Arthur Smith, but that's tough for a rookie to come in and be relied upon to be the top guy. Now, the other side to that argument is if he's the top guy, he's getting all the looks, which, garbage time. The Falcons should be behind in games, over vibes there. But first glance, quarterback situation and lack of depth at wide receiver, tough to bet an over on Drake London.
I agree with you. I'm going with the under as well. And you mentioned that he's going to be getting all the targets. I don't think so. I think while he might be the number one receiver, the number one target is going to be Kyle Pitts, right? That's going to be whoever's playing quarterback. That's going to be their favorite target, right? And I'm looking at this wide receiver room with Calvin Ridley being suspended for gambling. And, we got Olamide Zaccheaus, Brian Edwards. I mean, seriously, like the Falcons don't have any receivers. So I think
and they have quarterback. That's not a good recipe.
Their offensive line is not great either. That offense leaves a lot to be desired here. And I'm just looking at this. All that being said, I also just don't trust Arthur Smith. I don't trust this Falcons offense. I think I'm going with the under. And when you look at just historically, only 5 rookie pass catchers went over 264.5 receiving yards last season. So I think that you got to be in a good situation to even have a shot at that number, and I don't think that Drake London's in a good situation. When we look at the touchdown props, though, 4.5 might seem low, 5 touchdowns, that's all we need. I'm going with the under there as well. This is just going to be a completely different offense with Marcus Mariota under center for the Falcons, right? I have to believe that that's going to be at least their starter to begin this season. And when we look at last year, when they had Matt Ryan, only one Falcons pass catcher went over 5 touchdowns last season. So this offense has a lot of issues, and I just don't trust Arthur Smith or the Falcons offense to be able to produce enough to put my money on any pass catcher outside of Kyle Pitts to go over 4.5 touchdowns. So I'm going with the under.
Very, very fair. So we had a discussion about this in the pre-show. I don't think I've ever bet a season-long touchdown prop in my entire gambling life. The touchdowns are very fluky game to game. A lot of it depends on matchups. A lot of it depends on who's hot, who's not, the weather. There's so many, like the touchdown props are very fluky. So I've never bet a season long. So I am going to politely pass on all of the touchdown props here, but I do agree that in my eyes, the Falcons aren't going to score a lot of touchdowns, period. So it's going to be hard for Drake to get over this number. But I don't see a ton of value in betting the season-long touchdown props. Just a personal preference. I totally respect people who do. But to me, this would be a tough one for me to even bet the over, even if I did consider betting touchdown props.
All right, well, I'll just breeze through the touchdowns. You let me know what you're thinking. Just give me quick thoughts.
I'll always give you my thoughts, but I'm never betting.
Yeah, you're just letting the people know you're not betting. Yeah, okay, gotcha. All right, let's talk about a Jets rookie because we got someone in the chat talking about Breece Hall gonna ball out this year. Do Jets rookies ever have a big impact? I mean, you tell me. You're the Jets fan. Yeah, you tell me. So
No.
I'll let you get first crack at this one because I can't recall a Jets rookie that I've ever, been jumping for joy about. So talk to me about Brees Hall. 830 and a half rushing yards.
Positives, he's at the top of the depth chart. The Jets running back room is not very deep. You would expect they took him pretty high in the draft. They're going to want to get some legs out of him. But there's just the Jets offensive line is not like first of all, game script. They're going to be behind in a lot of games. Like I think, they're not a team that's going to be above 500, I think, this season. They're going to be behind more often than they're not. So game script will always dictate over passing yards, under rushing yards. But then you look at the offensive line, and it's just like Becton, is he playing? What's his status? The center has been kind of in and out, McGovern. So I'm concerned with the Jets' offensive line. It's always been a concern. They didn't fully address it in the draft. They went skill in the draft, which is fine. But I don't know if they're going to be a ground and pound kind of team. So it's tough to bet an over on Brees Hall for the yards, especially.
Yeah. Look, I hate to keep doing this here, but I'm going to look historically, right? Rookie running backs went over this number last season. 2 in 2020 and 2019, 4 in 2018, right? An important factor to consider, obviously, when you're looking at these props is availability, right? Brees Hall is a guy that never missed a game because of injury at Iowa State. So a lot of upside when you look at it from that perspective. But only one Jets rookie running back has rushed for more than 800 yards. I'm going to give you a guess at the year, and I will Venmo you $5 if you are within 10 years. Within 10 years.
I mean, it's probably really far away then. It's probably like in the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
Is it wait.
1964.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it had to be one of those years where the Jets were like at least somewhat in it.
Unbelievable.
Who was it?
Unbelievable. So I'm going with the under here. Not sold. I'm not sold. I mean, to be honest with you, you kind of alluded to it. I'm not sure he's going to get the touches to be able to go over 830 and a half yards. So, and then I'm looking at his touchdowns prop. I actually like the over 5.5 rushing touchdowns here. His last 2 seasons at Iowa State combined for 41 touchdowns. He's a reliable goal line threat. Can see him getting a lot of work in the red zone there. So I like that touchdown prop a lot more than I like the yards.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I mean, we're asking for 6 touchdowns. I mean,
I'm trying to find the Jets. You said it was 1964. Oh, it was Matt Snell. Yeah,
Matt Snell.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know my Jets history as well as I should.
What you knew was you were like, all right. Well, I think I gave it away as soon as I was like 10 within. 10
yeah,
years.
you definitely have a bad poker face, Glaze.
Yeah, I do. All right, let's get into some receivers. Chris Olave, a guy that I'm actually pretty excited about in the situation that he's in with the Saints. 719 receiving yards
over
for Chris
Jameis
Olave.
Winston. Over Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Over.
I like the
we don't
over
even need
as
to
well.
talk anymore. Justin wants to get into baseball, so we might have to
injury.
skip the last one.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring in let's switch gears and talk some baseball. Let's bring in Paul Sporer of Fangraphs. And let's talk some baseball with Paul. Paul, how are we doing this morning? What hat do we have on there? Who is that?
Morning, guys. I'm doing well. This is the Sugarland Space Cowboys. They rebranded this year from the Sugarland Skeeters, and I think it's a big win. I think that stuff's way better than the Skeeters stuff. So I went ahead and copped one of their hats. They have one with a rocket ship too. So that's Sugarland.
Isn't that where Corey Hunter played? Didn't they get some like big name player to go down there?
You know who they did have was Tracy McGrady played on that.
That's right, Tracy McGrady. That's right. I don't know why. I thought.
And that was when they were still. It was Sugarland. They were independently. Then Sugarland got into actual professional affiliation. Now they are a AAA affiliate, and they're in real baseball, or what I say, like pro baseball. So yeah, but Tracy McGrady was over there. That's where Scott Kazmir kind of rebuilt himself too, because he's a Houston native, and he came back after like 2-3 years off. So Sugarland Skeeters have some notoriety there, but now they're the Space Cowboys, and they are an affiliated team finally.
It's awesome.
That's pretty. I mean, it's a sick hat. Sick hat.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
let's talk. Let's talk about Shohei Ohtani. I mean, dude is just incredible. I mean, I'm looking at his June stats: 152 ERA, 38 strikeouts. I mean, hitting splits are incredible. Hitting 298. I mean, is there still value in him to win another AL MVP at plus 270? You think there's still some value there, or what? I mean, he's playing out of his mind right now.
There should be, but there probably isn't. To me, there is no debate who the best player is. I think anybody trying to debate it, I'm sorry. Like I try to be open-minded about conversations that have some opinion. You cannot sell me on anybody better than him. You can't. You can't. The only excuse I've heard, or the only like pushback I've gotten is like, well, he's not the very best pitcher or the very best hitter, so he can't be the best player. That's stupid. Like that's like blindingly stupid, because he's like a top 10 hitter and a top 10 pitcher. So give me your best hitter and then tell me what he does for pitching. Oh, Aaron Judge, he doesn't pitch. Okay, give me your best pitcher. Go Garrett Cole or Sandy Alcantara. I don't care who. Sure. They don't hit. Like, shut up. Like, this guy is just loose comps based on what his stats were like last week. He was Brandon Woodruff and Kyle Tucker. Like, what are we talking about? One person is both of those guys. So he is by far the best player. I do think there's already going to be voter fatigue 1 year in, though, which is ridiculous. That's the stupidest concept in MVP voting is the voter fatigue. I'm like, let somebody else do it. No, vote for the best player. And I don't care what their team record is. It's an individual award. So it's not Shohei's fault that the rest of the Angels suck. He's amazing. He should win it. But I'd be nervous because I don't trust the voters. I really don't. And that's what muddies the water with these things. If you're really being objective about it, I'd bet him at 270 with every nickel I have. But I can't trust the voters, so I'd be very careful. I'm okay at 270, but as the number shrinks, if he continues to perform the way he is, I'd start to lean away.
It's funny that this is part of the topic today, because I just dropped a column, a baseball futures column on Pickswise last night that discussed this exact thing, where one of my baseball insiders basically echoed exactly what you're saying, Paul, that Shohei Ohtani is the best player. But for some reason, there is voter fatigue with these awards. It's a narrative media-based award. Aaron Judge, Yankees are the best team, clearly having record-typing seat. Like, that is going to skew the argument. Now, I have a position on Ohtani at plus 350. I'm probably going to wait for a moment in time that is favorable and unload a little bit on Judge just to get off of it, because I do have a pretty nice number on Shohei. But I totally agree that it is a tough award to handicap this year, because there's such a vast difference between who the best player is and the best narrative. Judge is the best narrative and Shohei is the best player. Which one of those wins out? I think it's going to be Judge, but we'll see. Your picks for today. You're a big money line guy and you're all plus money, and I'm very fascinated to hear your reasoning. I've been staying away from money lines this year because the bullpens, I can't deal with it, Paul. How do you navigate
fair, by the way?
What do you think about today's games on your card?
Start with the Orioles. I want to hear why. I want to hear why the Orioles.
Here we go. Blaze an Orioles fan.
Okay, let me start with, I love Joe Ryan. He's one of my favorite breakouts this year. I'm a big fantasy guy, as you guys know, promoting him left and right. It's tough to go against him, but that seems like a huge number. Baltimore's been playing pretty well lately. You talk about bullpen, and bullpen ERA is not super reliable, but they're the second best ERA this month out of the bullpen. They've been pitching well consistently out of the bullpen. Their pitching is a lot better. Baltimore is in their kind of opening the window phase. They're still a bad team, generally speaking, but they're a lot more spry when you go into Camden or when they come to visit you. You don't get the 2 out of 3 as easily. They've got a lot more concrete, bankable pitching, and they've always had some decent offense, not just because of the park either. They got some good hitters. So to me, this was a number play entirely. Baltimore plus 180. I'm sorry, Minnesota, you haven't shown me, speaking of bullpens, they haven't shown me anything that I believe I can trust them with a lead after 5 innings. So I went the full game, money game there, and said Baltimore plus 180. I just think it's too good of a number. And like I said, I love Joe Ryan, but I'm going Baltimore here.
Awesome. You're also on Miami.
I'm a big Miami guy this year. I really have been interested in them for the last couple of years. They have the amazing pitching. The guy who isn't pitching amazingly, though, is the guy going tonight. So why am I on him? Well, I'm sorry, Josiah Gray, but I'm not sure that you're good enough for a minus 135 yet consistently, because the issue is he's been pitching very well lately and the home runs are staying in the park. But I don't think that this issue is fixed. I think it's a hot run from Josiah Gray. So I don't understand why he's necessarily that big of a number. I'm going to go ahead and take the Marlins here. They have a top 10 offense against righties. They can hit some homers. That Washington is a very strong hitter's park, which does make life difficult for somebody like Josiah Gray as a home run guy. So I know I'm betting on Rogers, which is nerve-wracking because of the way he's been this year. But I don't necessarily just trust Josiah Gray as a set it and forget it type of guy. I think his home run issues are still going to be there. And I thought the Marlins were too good of a number here again to kind of jump in on them.
Yeah, Rogers has been tough. Kluber Barrios. Kluber's numbers have been pretty good this year. I don't know how he keeps putting them together. I mean, he's like father time undefeated, right? Barrios is just, I'll be honest, man, what a disappointment he's been coming over from Minnesota. ERA almost 6. And you think the Rays are a good bet on the road tonight?
Yeah, so that's what I don't get either. And maybe it's because, I'm like part-time bettor and full-time fantasy guy. So maybe I'm just too into the fantasy to understand that. But how is Barrios still getting this number? And I know it's not just Barrios. There's a bullpen, there's an offense. But I'm sorry, the numbers he's been putting up in those, 3-4 innings that he goes, he sets the team behind. I know Tampa Bay's offense is not great, but I thought this number was crazy here. So all 3 of these were driven by the fact that the number just seemed too big on the other side, and I ended up going the other way. Tampa Bay, decent team to bet on with their pitching. Their hitting is very suspect, but against Barrios, he can make any team look like all-stars. So that's why I went Tampa Bay.
While we have you here, Paul, Jared's been pretty hot with some walk props. Walk props. We want to walk through. I mean, Jared, hold on. I'm looking at this. 10-0 in your last 10 walk props.
Respect.
We're unbelievable.
Including 4 solo plays, 6 parlays, and haven't lost a walk prop since June 25th.
That's fantastic.
So I'm going to stop talking here, Jared. They don't want to hear me talk. They want to hear you give out some more walk props.
I'll be honest. Anytime we tout our records, that's when we lose. Paul.
The announcer jinx, right? Yeah,
but
I have to report the facts. 20 kicks.
Exactly. I have to report the facts. It's been a good week for us with walk props. We'll see if it continues today. It's actually funny you mentioned Josiah Gray. I will start there. I am betting his under walks props today, which sounds crazy, I know, because he's literally been a gas can for most of his career. And this is a contrarian play against the trend. 79% of his starts this year have gone over 1.5 walks, 11 out of 14. But of the 3 starts he's gone under, 2 of them have been against the Marlins.
Miami, yep.
So I just have to kind of go with what the trend is saying in that short sample size against Miami. 1 walk in 2 starts against the Marlins this season. Both of those were on the road. This start is at home. And his walk rate hasn't been that big of a difference between his home and road to make any reasonable conclusions. But Miami's walk rate very recently has been very low, under 5%. 9 out of 16 home starters, Josiah Gray is at home today, have gone under 1.5 walks against the Marlins in the month of June. So short-term Miami, not a patient lineup, not a great lineup to begin with, but plus 105 for this to stay under 1.5, I felt was a fair price. The other one I'll give you, this is, we're going against the trend with Gray. We're going to go with the trend with Glenn Otto over 1.5. 8 consecutive starts, he has gone over this number. The only time he has stayed under 1.5 all season was his first start of the season against the A's, who are like one of the lowest walk rate teams in baseball.
Yeah,
the Mets are average with their walk rate this year, but at home, over 9%. On the road, 7%. So they're much more comfortable. They're a much better lineup at Citi Field. This game tonight, Rangers-Mets at Citi Field. So we'll see if we can stay hot with the solo bets. Here are the 3 I'm putting. So, here, Paul, what I do is, as you know, the walk props, because of the juice, some of them are like, the juice is insane on some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I take the 3 best ones that I like that are like insane juice that I can't bet solo, and I put them into a parlay. We call it the Walk This Way parlay.
I like it.
Crushing these as well. I've hit 2 in a row and over a 50% ROI with these. Now, parlays, as we know, not great for your bankroll long term, but half a unit each and 1 a day, and we stay consistent. Michael Lorenzen over 1.5 at Houston. Any pitcher at 1.5 against the Astros, especially a righty, I am betting the over. 16 of 19 right-handed starters in June have gone over 1.5 walks against the Astros. I'll give you Trevor Rogers over 1.5 against the Nats. On the road, Rogers is walking nearly 5 per 9 compared to 3.6 at home. And the Nats are a very high walk rate team this year, over 11% too over the last week. So Rogers, who's been a bit of a control freak in his career, I think 1.5 is a good number there. And then we'll go with the late game. Tony Gonsolin over 1.5 against the Padres. I love Gonsolin this year. I think he's a Cy Young contender, but I'm expecting a little bit of regression just because of how good he has been in the first half. How about this? He's walking only 2.5 batters per 9 this year. He walked over 5 per 9 last year.
Yeah.
So to me, that's too big of a gap between first and second year. There's going to be some positive aggression with that number. And San Diego on the road this season, 9 out of 15 in the month of June, I should say, have gone over for the Padres. So when they're on the road, the Padres are a little more of a patient lineup. So we'll go Gonsolin over 1.5, Rogers over 1.5, Lorenzen over 1.5, plus 337 on the Walk This Way parlay tonight. See if we can make it 3 in a row.
I can definitely get behind that. And, another thing about the Padres, they had some early season struggles against righties. I think people are still kind of carrying that bias over. But in the month of June, they're now 6th in WRC plus and 7th in walk rate at 9% in June, specifically against righties for San Diego. So I like that one there with Gonsolin. That's a little sneaky one. The Rogers one's a good call for sure. I mean, you got Soto, Bell, Cruz, Cesar Hernandez, kind of their top 4 guys. They all take walks very well. So I like that one. And then Lorenzen, totally agree with you on the Houston thing. 1.5. I mean, Bregman on his own can do that. He'll get 2 walks 100%. For you in his first 3 at-bats, and then you're golden on that. So
and no one's pitching to Alvarez. Everyone, no one wants to pitch to that guy right now.
Yeah, nor should you at all.
Jared, you also have 3 Yerfies on your card. But it's different because usually when you have a Yerfie on the card, usually you're getting some plus money here. I'm looking at you're laying some juice today.
We are, and I'm curious Paul's thoughts about the Yerfie sensation. I mean, this isn't the first year that they've been around. Much more popular this year than in years past. So, Paul, what I do is every day I take the Yerfie rates and the Nerfie rates of both pitchers, and I combine it into a pretty basic formula on Excel, and I spit out plus EV on what the line is, the Nerfie line, compared to what the Nerfie rates are of both pitchers. And today on my sheet, the 3 highest edges to the Yerfie are all over 20%, which is a pretty big edge. And they're in these 3 games that I'm about to give you. St. Louis, Philly, laying 25 cents here, which is, again, a lot for a Yerfie. But I'm going to trust this sheet. It's been pretty accurate over the last week. And we'll see if it, over the long haul, if we can, stay hot with these results. Rangers, Mets laying 10 cents and Orioles, Twins laying 15 cents. So the pitching matchups, again, I just told you the pitching matchups, each pitching matchup has a Yerfie edge of over 20%. So I'm not going to get too much into the pitching matchups. That speaks for itself. Let's get into the offenses. St. Louis, Philly. Philly's got a 35% scoring rate at home, well above average. St. Louis is worse on the road than at home, but I get Goldschmidt in the first inning, and I'll take that any day of the week. Texas, New York, the Mets are the best home scoring team in baseball, 52% scoring rate in the first inning at home. Texas, 4 straight Yerfies, so they're hot in this category. And surprisingly, better scoring rate on the road, above average at nearly 30%, than on the road, which is right around 24%. And finally, Orioles, Twins. The Twins are a really good team at home, 37.5%. And Baltimore, they stink, let's be honest. But slightly higher on the road than at home. So they're on the road tonight at Target Field. So I'll give it to you one more time. Cardinals, Phillies, Rangers, Mets, Orioles, Twins, all laying between 10 and 25 cents. All Yerfies tonight on the card for me, Paul.
I like it. I like where we're at with this. I think this at Philly, of course, that's a great hitter's park, so that helps you a little bit too. Minnesota's not a terrible hitter's park. Mets isn't great, but you got Glenn Otto going. And I actually like Glenn Otto a bit, but he's still figuring things out. And I don't know what his numbers are against them, but Texas has seen Bassett a lot in his career, obviously, because Seattle. He was back over there in Oakland.
Oakland, that's right. My bad.
They again, I don't know how well they did against him, but they certainly aren't new to him. So maybe they get a run for you there. So I like the triple one. And you parlay all 3 of these?
No, God, no. I mean, you can parlay all 3 of them.
I wasn't sure if this was another parlay.
I would play them solo.
Yeah.
Bassett actually has pretty good numbers against the Rangers. I'm looking here, 67 plate appearances. just a 123 average. You know, I probably should have looked at Bassett's walk prop though, because it's a 13% walk rate. But yeah, listen, I think Bassett though, the experience though against this Rangers lineup, I think is noteworthy though.
It is, but also some of their best parts are new guys. Like, how much has he seen Semien and Seager specifically? And, Adolis Garcia's been playing very well. So, and I like the Joe Ryan, including the Joe Ryan one, because you can get that early homer, even though Baltimore is not your strongest team here. In fact, they're the weakest of the 6. Get that first inning Cedric Mullins homer off Joe Ryan. You're sitting golden. So I like these 3.
Let's go.
My favorite is the Philly
like you,
one.
Paul. Paul's very supportive of my picks, Alex. That means he's
These are good. These are good. I wouldn't just say it if I didn't like him.
All right, it's Paul Sporer of Fangraphs. Really appreciate your time for joining us. I'm sure we'll have you on again to
would love to. Thanks, guys.
Baseballs, as we're in the dog days of summer now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's switch gears, Jared, and talk some Wimbledon. As you mentioned, day three of Wimbledon, right?
Yeah, 3rd round. I don't think it's day 3, but I guess
not day 3. Not day 3. 3rd round.
Yeah, like 3. I guess technically, if you want to go by how many matches these guys have played, today is the 3rd match for all of these players.
Yes. Day 3 for the players. Yes. Of day 3 of playing, I guess. Whatever. 3rd round.
Djokovic is up 6. I think Djokovic just won his first set 6-love. So we're gonna hit the Djokovic prop today, or the Djokovic money line today. Feel good about that one.
Roll that one over. All right. What are you looking at today?
So, by the way, excuse me, Ricky Diamond has a column, as you would expect, on Pickswise.com right now. The bets that he has, let me look. Isner has not started yet, and neither has Garcia. So all 3 of Ricky's pickies, as we're calling them, that he has up on the site right now are still up for grabs, meaning the matches. Now, again, the timing of these matches, it's in London, it's 6 hours ahead, 5 hours ahead. So it's we might not get to all of them time-wise, but right now at 10:37 a.m., you could bet on all 3 of his picks, and the matches haven't started yet. Of those 3, based off of my rudimentary handicapping skills when it comes to tennis, the one I like the most is actually a game total over the total amount of games in Carlos Alcaraz and Oscar Ott. Over 30. Now, Ricky got 37.5. I bought a game, and I bet over 36.5. I laid 30 cents. Ricky's laying 15. You could play either. I just wanted to be a little bit more on the safer side. Remember, all of my tennis bets that I'm giving out on this show were 2-1 so far are for a half unit, because I'm not a tennis guy. I'm tailing people and using my rudimentary handicapping skills to try to catch some value. So Ott is a live underdog here against Alcaraz, and the reason that is because he's a grass specialist. He's 16-9 on grass in his career, and Carlos, who's a young, up-and-coming, amazing talent, this is going to be his 5th ever match on grass. He needed 5 sets to get through his first-round match, and again, he's a top 10 player in the world right now, but struggling a little bit on grass, while Ott got the big serve and the grass experience. And based off of what I can deduce, when the underdog is live and a guy like Ott, who has a big serve, that's a grass specialist, who's the underdog, the sets last longer, there's more games, and that's why over 36.5 feels like a decent play. If this goes 5 sets, there's no way we can lose. If it goes 4 sets, it has to be like 6-love, 6-love, 6-love. So we're rooting for basically Ott to win a set. If he does, I feel very good about this going over 36.5. And we're trying to go for our 2nd straight win. We hit the other day with Van Riethoven. Try to go for 2 in a row today, get our Wimby picks to 3-1. But that's our bet today. Over 36.5. Alcaraz and Ott.
Love it. And before we get to plays of the day, you want to talk some PLL?
Electric, AG. The PLL is electric right now. So here you go. Last weekend, 3 of the 4 games were decided by a goal. And we had an insane comeback in the Chrome, down 11-6. They go and win in overtime 12-11. They're 4-0, one of the best teams in the league, maybe the best team. But again, excitement with the PLL. And that is why it's an amazing betting sport, because the games are never over. They're tight. They're high scoring for the most part. They're 23 goals in a match. So it's very exciting to bet this, very exciting to watch it. And there are more matches that you can watch this weekend, 4 of them on ESPN+. Archers Woods tonight, 7 Eastern. One of our lacrosse handicappers, Nick Z, is on the Archers, laying 1.5. It's a 2-star play. Also, Atlas Chrome. I just talked about that insane Chrome comeback. They play tonight at 9:45. Our buddy Charlie White likes the over 23.5. You got 2 more games Saturday. And of course, Dan Aresti has got player props on the site. How about this? He's plus 10 units this season on player props. Check him out on Pickswise.com. The PLL again. The excitement. We talk about the NBA. Sometimes it can be boring. That's not the PLL. It's exciting. Go check it out. Go bet it. And check out the plays on the site because they're hitting.
Never out of a PLL game. That's
never out of it.
Never out of it. All right. Any 3-star plays on the site?
Good question. I was so excited about PLL. I forgot to refresh the page. We do. Wise guy. Hey, wise guy checking in with us. Matt Weisenfeld. Yanks, Braves. I'm not going to give away how Matt is playing these 2 teams tonight, but he is looking at Atlanta and New York. And
I like that he's on one.
I think it aligns with what you're about to say, Alex.
Yeah, it aligns with one of my plays. I'll go for it. Why not? Because you kind of teed me up a little bit there.
Roll it, baby.
Yankees run line. Yankees run line. A little juicy, minus 134 on FanDuel. But I'm trusting Garrett Cole. They have a big pitching advantage tonight against the Guardians. After a rough start to the season, I mean, Garrett Cole's just been lights out. 1.01 whip. 27 strikeouts and just 2 earned runs in his last 3 starts combined. So he's really dialed in. I don't need to talk too much about this Yankees offense and what they're doing here. But I'm looking at Cole and how he matches up against this Guardians lineup. 194 ERA and 82 plate appearances against the Guardians with a 36% K rate. Huge pitching advantage for the Yankees. Combine that with what they're able to do on offense. I just think this is a no-brainer. Yankees on the run line tonight. So I need a win because, look, we talk about this a lot. How streaky I am with these plays of the day. I think I've lost
streaky with your PODs.
I think I've lost 3 straight, so it's time to turn the tide and win 3 straight, just so I can go back and just keep.
You had a tough one yesterday with the Liberty. Didn't that game go to overtime?
Oh, we don't need to talk about. We don't need to talk about the
you
Liberty.
Talk about it?
We don't need to talk about the Liberty and that.
It's all right. Zeno had a tough day yesterday too with his Nerfy. Here's what I'm not doing tonight. I am not betting the Dodgers or the Rockies Nerfy at Coors Field for the 4th straight day. I lost 3 straight on that alone. I looked at the Nerfy at Coors tonight. Merrill Kelly's a gas can, and again, I'm gonna bet it more times than I'm not gonna bet it, but I need a reason not to bet it. I have a reason not to bet the Nerfy at Coors Field tonight, and his name is Merrill Kelly. But that doesn't mean we're not gonna keep betting our walk props. Take your walk. Take your medicine. That's what I hope the Mets lineup does tonight. Glenn Otto over 1.5. We talked about this with Paul. By the way, tremendous job, Paul Sporer. Please, we need to get that man back, and hopefully he has a different lid every time he comes on. Over 1.5 walks for Otto at the Mets. 8 consecutive starts over this number. I am betting Otto over 1.5 at a fair price for the rest of the season if they keep giving it to us. The Mets are not like this high walk rate team. It's not like they're the Astros that just like every time they face a righty, it goes over. The Mets are kind of a coin flip, but they're a much better walk team at home. This game is at Citi Field than on the road. So that's the handicap tonight. Glenn Otto over 1.5, laying 10 cents at DraftKings. Hopefully we can keep the walk streak going. If I go 5-0 again today, the 2 solo and the 3 on the parlay, I don't know, man. I might have to retire. 15 in a row? That's crazy. That's crazy.
I think if you hit these tonight, it would be a good time to just shut it down for a little bit. Just shut it down.
I took yesterday off. I didn't bet anything yesterday.
Well, maybe you just keep going.
Completely off for that exact reason.
I mean, maybe you shut it down and then you just kind of let it marinate for a little bit, and then just wait because just let it marinate. I guess maybe until
it felt good to wake up yesterday on a 10 prop walk streak. It felt good to not put it at risk, but I don't know. I'm sure one of these guys will lose, but eventually it's going to lose. You can't keep this up forever, but I just saw Justin in the chat. JR Glaze over here swishing the walk props and the run lines.
No, because I'm streaky. He's calling me a streaky shooter, which fair. Fair enough. All right, well, that'll do it for us today. For Jared, I'm Alex. Good luck with all your plays tonight.